Good afternoon and welcome back to our next panel. We know it's always difficult to join the next session after having had a lunch break, but I can promise you will not regret it. Um, it's worth to stay, it's worth to join for those who still think what you do now, and it's worth to participate. Our panel will be a bit different than the panels before because we will present you and invite you to discuss with our four panelists, with our ladies and gentlemen, who will highlight a couple of different spotlights on their experiences when it comes to migration. Um, as already pointed out, be aware it's a bit different. So every person will speak about his or her experience, and you will have the opportunity to directly put your questions. Please raise your voice, use your hand raising function, and use the Q&A session that you can find below your screen. Okay, thank you very much. I would say we will start. I'm very happy to introduce you to our first panelist, Milena Popin. He is from Serbia. She participated in the Zoran Djindjic internship program of German business for the countries of the Western Balkans in 2012. And now she's back to Serbia and works for a German company in Serbia. Milena is not only a former colleague of mine, whom I really enjoyed working with, she is also a very active alumni of our network and a very good friend. Thank you very much for joining us today, Milena.
I have the pleasure to present you Ismar Hačam. Welcome, Ismar. Ismar comes from Livno in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and he lives in Berlin since 2015. He works as a translator and organizer of literature events. So welcome, Ismar Hačam, to our panel.
Thank you.
Another highlight of our panel is to welcome Maja Baumschabel. He also participated in the Zoran Djindjic internship program of German business, but not in 2012 as Milena. She participated there in 2017. Maja is back to Zagreb, although she's originally from Vinkovci, which is regarded as one of the oldest cities in Europe. So if you have not been there, use your opportunity. However, Maja has been actively developing our alumni club in Croatia because she's one of our coordinators in Croatia, and she has also contributed to the further development of our regional network. Welcome on board, Maja.
And I'm now pleased to introduce Uroš Milutinović. Uroš comes from Virecka Banja, very famous town in Serbia for festivals and carnival. And we know each other from several projects we did already together. And Uroš is 18 years old and has recently moved to Ljubljana in Slovenia. He's a student there of political science. So welcome, Uroš. Sorry, it's mine. I have now the pleasure to present you my colleague and friend, Antje Müller, who will be moderator together with me today. So Antje is program director of the Zoran Djindjic internship program of German business for the countries of Western Balkans at the German Eastern Business Association. She works in and with the countries of Western Balkans in the frame of this program, the Djindjic program, since 2014. So pleasure to moderate with you.
Well, same here. It's a very large honor to moderate with Frank Morawietz. He is the managing director of the Think and Tank Crossborder factory here in Berlin. But he's also the regional coordinator of the Southeastern European Initiative of the Franco-German Youth Office, and he was one of the 3 members of the joint coordination team for the establishment of RICO. So thank you very much for doing this together with me today.
So let's start our a little voyage through the spotlights. We are very happy to have such diverse participants and panelists today, as they all have been having different experiences when it comes to migration. Their stories clearly show that migration is not only connected to economic and political aspects, but have also very close links to questions of education and further education, the importance of family, friends, and the own cultures.
So once again, please welcome Milena Popin. She stated in her video, which you can see in the cinema section of this conference, he stated life abroad was like brainstorming, and the fine-tuning of ideas came after I came back to my home country. Milena, we are very curious what you're meaning by that. The floor is yours. You have approximately 5 minutes, and once again to the audience, please get ready for your questions, which you can put immediately afterwards.
Thank you very much for this introduction and for the nice words. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much then once again for the introduction and for giving me this opportunity to present myself in front of such a huge audience. I would like that I can see you and that I can talk to you personally, but this is how it works in the current time. My name is Milena Popin. I'm a student. I'm now currently working at Lidl in Serbia, actually not in Belgrade, but in Nova Pazova. And I completed my internship in 2012, as Antje said, and at that time I've been studying economics at University of Novi Sad. And I completed a couple of internships in different companies, Coca-Cola, Banca Intesa, and huge names here in Serbia. But still, once I had the opportunity to go with our professor on a field trip in Germany, and then we went to Stuttgart, in Baden-Württemberg, and in Bayern. We visited the huge factories, and we actually had a chance to see how it works, what we studied from the books. And then at that point, I decided maybe it's time to go abroad and to see how it really looks in developed countries and how it really works and how in 10 years it will look like in Serbia. So I applied 2 years in a row for this internship program, and at the end I ended up in Düsseldorf. And I really like the place and the city and everything, especially the possibility to spend 6 months abroad. But what was very important for me is that I haven't been there alone at that time. I had 60 other people from Balkan region who can support me in any problems, in any trouble, with any questions. So after this internship, I got there very well, and I got very well connection with my pate and with mentor and with everybody. But I set in my mind to come back after 6 months back to Serbia. And when I came back here, I wrote actually my master thesis, and that's why I said that was brainstorming. You saw it, the garbage collection, you saw it driving with a bicycle to the work is really possible. You saw a really couple of good ideas. Being on time is something really okay, so you can organize your time, and so on and so on. So I learned a couple of good things, and I came back to live again in Belgrade. And I've been working at the Zoran Đinđić Foundation and at university. And then again, I got that urge to go abroad and to go to live again in Germany. And then I had the opportunity to spend my half a year in Bulgaria, half a year in Croatia, in Austria, and in Germany. And all that mixture, this was also everything abroad, but everything so different. So I learned a lot of new things from each country and each culture. And then I again decided to come back here in Serbia. And this, I think it will be a long-term decision to stay a couple of years here, to use the opportunity to work where my network of people is, where my language is, but still to have a chance to travel abroad quite a lot because of work. And today to work, I think half of my working time in Serbian and then the other half in German or in English. So this is how it's working in international companies. And what I mentioned, I will just shortly mention here in my video, you can hear it. My parents are really good example why leaving Serbia is most of the time seen from different perspective and from different eyes. My mother, she was very excited that I will go in Germany. She explained me, you know, in Düsseldorf you can buy good shoes, then you go in Germany, you can really eat a good food, and in Köln you can go there, and there is a cathedral and so on. And my father, he was always asking me for the 6 months whether I have enough money, whether I'm warm, and whether I've eaten a good food, and if everything is fine, and do I want to come back home. And actually, when I came back home, he said, it's nice that you have spent 6 months abroad, but now you're home. And then he showed me the biggest ham he was waiting for me to start to eat. And I would say this is also in Serbia. Some of the people think in abroad everything is shiny and there is a completely different situation. And on the other hand, we have really conservative people who would say in Serbia is the best place to live and the best place to stay. I would say this mixture to go abroad to exchange the ideas and the perspective is really the best thing. So you know what can you approve here in Serbia, and you can challenge yourself somewhere abroad to see with other people. I don't know if I broke this my time of 5 minutes, but anyhow, I hope that I gave you the introduction, and I would like to hear some question. If you have, I can give you the answer from my experience.
Thank you, Milena. Oops. So, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, the floor is up to you. You're free to raise your hand or to put questions in the Q&A section. I will start that you have an icebreaker question and a couple of more seconds to do your typing. So, Milena, what actually made you decide that you were going to return back to Serbia after your 6 months in Germany? I mean, you just pointed out all the different opportunities and perspectives you had, but what made you return and give Serbia and your Serbian life a perspective and a chance?
Thank you for the question. And as I said, from the first day when I went to Germany, I knew that after 6 months I will go back. This was like, for me, I go for 6 months. And it happened, it turned out in Düsseldorf that they actually offered me if I want to prolong my internship and to stay there for the longer time. And I know that a couple of alumni stay at the companies in Germany once when they went for the internship, and they like the life there in Germany. You earn you get the first salary, you get independent and everything. But for me, I decided at that moment that I will go abroad and maybe try to live abroad only once when I have my own family, so that I have my natural surroundings somewhere abroad. There is a couple of small things which are different in Serbia and in Germany as a culture-wise, but still I knew that I need my natural surrounding and my Serbian way of thinking and seeing the point to make success somewhere abroad. And also I somehow knew that before I learned German language very well, I will not stay there because I cannot make a strong connection and just to go hang out with the people. That would be my answer. That I didn't have a clear picture of me staying in Germany for longer than 6 months. And after 2 years, when I got the idea maybe I could go again, I went and I tried. But at the end, it turned out that my inner feeling told me, okay, you feel better at home with still connection and old friends all around Europe.
Thank you, Milena, for this first answer and first question.
Thank you.
Thank you. As moderators, we have to take care a little bit about the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are pleased now to invite Ismar Hačam to speak about the experience of his migration. In the video, which you can also see on the platform, you said, the reasons why I left my home country become clear to me when I arrived here, when I realized that I can enjoy more possibilities and a life where I can express myself more freely. Please, Ismar, you have the floor to share your experience with us.
Thank you, and thank you for your introduction. Yeah, you're right. I realized why I came here first after I came here, because to Berlin, I mean, because I left pretty spontaneously. There was this opportunity for a master's studies scholarship. I applied and got it. It wasn't like a long-term plan to go abroad and study. It was just that I realized I wanted to learn more and study somewhere else. So I did. But yes, when I arrived here, I figured out that this society is much more open, much easier to live in. There's more of a sense of solidarity, and just when you don't have to think about existential problems every day, it's easier to tackle some other political and social problems, which wasn't really possible in Bosnia. But also very soon, as Milena said, the life in Germany isn't perfect. It's not perfect anywhere. And I ran away from this nationalism in Bosnia, but just to find a racism, a xenophobia that's also present in Germany. But as well as in Bosnia, I'm kind of trying through my work and like privately as an activist to fight for human rights, to make a change. And the main difference is I think here there is a hope that it will change, and I feel like I kind of lost the hope for that while living in Bosnia. But what also changed is my picture of my own country, which was painted in pretty dark colors before I left. But now I have a more differentiated view of the place where I came from. I learned to appreciate the support network I had there. I learned to appreciate the mentalities of Balkan people more. And also what shifted is my professional interests, because I was studying German literature. I was focused very on German authors. But since I started working here, organizing events, I also started reading stuff from the Balkans that's translated into German, and I'm trying to promote that more and have a contact with people who are still in the Balkans and who are still writing about the problems that are relevant. What still hasn't changed is this plan of going back, because when I left Bosnia, I didn't know if I'm going to come back, and today I don't know it either, especially with the COVID and everything that's happening. Like every week seems like there's a new radical change in the world, so who knows where I'm going to be next week. But yeah, I leave it as an open option. I wouldn't say that I would never come back. Maybe I can use what I learned here to help my country out, like my city, my friends, whatever. Maybe I can be happy even there, but that's still in the future, and we'll see what happens. I can't hear you, Frank, sorry.
Thank you very much, Ismar. You hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your contribution and your shared experience. I have one question to you. How would you describe the consequences of your decision to come to Germany as a migrant? What does it mean for your daily life? I mean, for your perspectives also.
Concerning my work, I just have more options here. I'm not confined to academia, but there's more, just the cultural scenes in Germany are more diverse, and there's just more possibilities to do stuff with literature than just teaching it. But privately, I think that the consequence was that I realized that my existence here is a political thing, that being a migrant will always be political, and that it's not just and that forces you to reflect that thing every single day, and to see how people react to you and why that is, and how can I change that?
Okay. Continue.
Living abroad inspired me to see the. Okay, I can hear myself in a large echo. I hope this is only me. Okay, I start again. I hope you didn't get a heart attack. Living abroad inspired me to see the opportunities I did not want to miss back home. Maja, what do you mean by that?
Hi, and thank you, first of all, for inviting me to participate. It's an honor, and I'm really glad to be here with my fellow alumni. And most of what they said will also be mentioned in my speech. So I did my internship in 2017 in Lindegas in Munich. And before that, I went on an Erasmus exchange to UK for 1 semester. And after that, I went to United States for 1 semester also to study there. And after that, I finally came back to Croatia. And since then, I stayed here. So it's been 2 years. And I'm working and living in Zagreb. I also made my husband to come back to Croatia, who was living in Canada at that time. It was a mutual decision, but I helped him perceive the opportunities you mentioned here back home that also were existent in other countries, but my living abroad helped me also perceive them in my home country. So this program has allowed me to achieve all of the expectations I had when going abroad. It widened my perspectives. It made me more agile, made me see, improve my skills, especially work-wise. It helped me get a job back home. Also, my experiences as a student in other countries, those were the most important points of my resume that employees always asked me about. And I was certainly proud to be able to say that I came back even after all of those opportunities abroad. And the main takeaway from living abroad, I would agree with Ismar. It's not a decision that's set in the stone and it's made from now until eternity. It's something that could be changed at any time, but at least from living abroad, it helped me realize that I shouldn't perceive it as a decision that is forever, because when I applied for the program to go work in Germany, I very bravely stated that I will never come back to Croatia and I will stay to live abroad. And I didn't know which country back then, but it was my intention not to come back. And living abroad in all those experiences helped me perceive that the grass isn't greener someplace else. It's never green anywhere. It just helped me realize that there are emotional aspects that I really take into consideration when thinking about it, and that is my family and my friends, the language also. I'm happy to be able to tell jokes in my language, which is something I haven't managed to do in other languages. And I'm just very, that influenced my decision the most, that in this point of my life, I want to be able to visit my parents in my hometown. I want to be able to hang out with my nephews. I want to be able to see my friends. And I based my decision on that, but it didn't exclude any opportunities in the future to maybe go abroad. But for now, this is where I see myself. And also one of the most important things that helped me and inspired me to choose this path was the alumni network, because that was the first time I managed to meet so many wonderful and inspiring people from different backgrounds with different stories that who had similar aspirations as me and who had similar path as me. So in terms of wanting to go abroad, to work abroad, and some of them, of course, wanted to stay abroad and worked or changed their mind when they went on the internship and then decided to stay. And there were also those who came back, and their stories were also so inspiring. So it helped me perceive all those opportunities that I didn't see back home and in this region until then. So the network, the alumni network, is like a safety net for me whenever I have doubts in my own decisions. So I always look for inspiration in them. And I mean, it's been quite a journey, going to all those different places, living there, experiencing different cultures, and and they all help me appreciate these other places, but also my own home, which I'm happy to call my home for now. And yeah, I think I covered most of the questions, but I also invite you to see all of our videos because it's hard to recreate them word to word. And thank you once again, and I'm ready for your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Maja. I'm having an echo. Okay. Well, this is going to continue until the end, I'm sure about that. There's a question, or there are actually two questions in the chat. I would maybe just put the last question on your table, Maja. How are you using the experience you've gained in Germany or abroad now that you're back in your own country?
So thank you for the question. I'm using it in multiple ways. So basically, wherever I applied for a job, it's been the most interesting thing we spent most of our time talking about. And they were also, it's a thing here that people are surprised if you had an opportunity to stay abroad, because we all perceive it, as I did 2 years ago and 3 years ago, that if you have an opportunity to work or be in Germany, why wouldn't you take it? And the fact that I decided to use those knowledges, that I had a great mentor there who the program connected me with, and the fact that I improved my language skills and came back home and want to implement them here, it makes them, at least I believe so, appreciate my eagerness to work and live here. So it's helped me in that way, and also especially in terms of seeing clearly my career path, because before working in Germany in corporate communications, I didn't know I wanted to continue working in corporate communications because I haven't worked there before. I worked in PR, public relations, and ever since doing my internship in Germany, I focused my remaining education, and also am focusing my career now in developing in that area. So education-wise, I mean, everybody is surprised and wants to know more why and how I managed to get all those opportunities. And the fact that I did my first study abroad and then work abroad and then study abroad, it just mounts up to something I believe quite interesting. And I don't want to say impressive, but one thing led to another, and that's always a great story to start your to talk about when career-wise, talking career-wise. I hope I answered the question. So
thank you, Maja. And now, last but not least, I would like to invite Uroš Milutinović to share with us your experiences and reasons why you decided to start your studies in Ljubljana, Slovenia. In our interview, you mentioned in the video, I decided to move from my home country because I didn't feel that there was enough freedom. That there was enough freedom, and I think that young people don't have a good future there. So please, Uroš, you have the floor now.
Okay, thank you for the phenomenal introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Since the young age, I have been oriented to leave Serbia. Both of my parents have been working abroad for years, and that concept was never strange to me. It was always, if you want to be successful, you leave. There's nothing there. And growing up, I learned that that is not fully true. There are plenty of successful people with great lives who very much enjoy living in Serbia. But as I was growing up, I just fully realized that that could never be me. I could not live and see all the social unjust that was happening around me, and I didn't think that that was a fitting place to one day raise my own family. And as soon as I enrolled in my hometown high school, I started the search for the perfect field that I should go into that would allow me to leave. And typically you see doctors and computer people get jobs abroad and get approved for visas, and I did not want to do any of that. I wanted to study politics, and I was very adamant about that. So my only way of actually going abroad, in my view, was studying abroad. So I considered all the countries of Europe. I wanted to live in European Union, and my first choice was Austria. But in 2018, the contract between Austria and Serbia ended, and Serbians then needed to pay tuition to attend Austrian universities, which was not the case for Slovenia. In Slovenia, Serbian students do not pay tuition, and that was one of the driving goals to take me here. I have been here only for a bit less than 2 months, so my story is not as fully realized as the other panelists. They probably can tell a much more detailed story, but as soon as I came here, I realized that I probably will not come back. You come here and the grass might not be greener, but there's definitely more opportunities, and it is just easy. It's not in Serbia, without parental support, students cannot live. If your parents decide they will not support you financially for your university studies, you basically have no way of actually doing that. And here, student wages are not phenomenal, but good enough to sustain yourself. The financial situation in general, not phenomenal, but much better in Serbia. And it's just a driving force for me to graduate as soon as possible and experience other things. Also, one of the main factors for me was experience and meeting the new culture and traveling. So I don't think my migration story will end in Slovenia. I plan on going to many other countries and potentially settling at one at some point. I see that other panelists, some of them have decided to come back to their own country even after living abroad, and maybe that will be my story, but currently it does not look like that. I hope I said everything you want to know, but feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you, Uroš. I know that you was very, very active in civil society. So and that you also worked on a more regional level. So my question to you would be, what do you think has to be changed? So not only in Serbia but in the region also, that young people feel to have a future there, and that young people also take in consideration the option to find a future there in the countries of the Western Balkans.
Yeah, so I have been a very active in human rights region. I have been to Srebrenica. I have done many. I've been part of many activist organizations to fight for human rights, and I do think that that is the main cause of people leaving Serbia. Economic prosperity definitely is one of them, but it is by far not the main reason why young people are leaving. I think that the nationalistic tensions in the region are what drives many away. The hatred that has been cherished by the ruling parties who profit off of it is just so powerful and so gruesome. And in recent years, it has gone down, but there is still a substantial amount of hate and just disinformation, and human rights are in no way settled. Recently, a list of the freest journalism countries came out, and Bosnia was, I feel like 100, and Serbia was place 93, which is extremely low and is very visible when you live there. For example, there have been massive protests, massive, probably the biggest since the revolution in the 2000, hundreds of thousands of people on the street, and they lasted for many weeks. But for first 3 days of absolute chaos in the capital, you could see none of that in the mainstream television or newspapers, anything. If you didn't have social media, you didn't know what was going on, which is scary, and I never want to live in that type of dark, media dark, and it's just very uneducational. Kids in school still are being taught very nationalistic views and very chauvinistic way of life, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, and the society feels like it's ready to cross over to a very liberal society, but the pillars of the past seem to keep it going in the wrong direction.
Okay. I promised you this is going to continue until the end. Uroš just pointed out he related to education. So, and this is a question to the four of you. If you had all opportunities and wouldn't fear any possible consequences, what would you change in regards of education in your country immediately? Okay. So the floor is yours, ladies and gentlemen. Who wants to start speaking?
I'll go. So there
Maja,
was.
please.
Thank you. In education-wise, I'm very grateful.
Can't hear you, Maja.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. Okay.
Great. So in terms of education,
it's good that everyone can hear you, but the moderators can't hear you. So keep speaking, and hopefully someone else might be returning to the moderation.
Okay. So education-wise, the education system in Croatia allowed me to visit all these other countries to go study abroad, and I'm very grateful for what it has taught me. And in terms of changing anything, it would be the fact that we started this sort of a transition from to a Bolognian system. I think that's the name. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. A couple of years ago, and it's been working properly since then. But I would like to see this system being implemented more in terms of actually being implemented than just being a word on a paper. So basically, it would allow students to work in for lesser assignments and to have more practical experience. And I think that the fact that there isn't enough practical experience while you're studying, that's the biggest flaw of our educational system.
Can I go next? In my case, I don't know what I wouldn't change about our educational system. In my opinion, I would mainly focus on earlier grades, which are in Serbia at least taught very misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic views, and there is just no any sort of life preparation. There is no any sort of sexual education, which is in the Balkans especially critical. There is so many teenage pregnancies, and there is so many girls with problems who do not have access to any sort of education, and the schools are not willing to budge on that. In my school, I try to organize a lecture for everybody on STDs, on abortion, on everything, and my school just told me that that was too controversial. And until stuff like that changes, until we learn that women are to be in the kitchen and men are to go fight wars with our neighbors, I don't think our society can progress. And I think we need to allow the young and the children to form better opinions and to not be so hate-driven since a young age.
Ismar, you would like to?
Yeah, I'd just like to add something. I agree with Uroš and Maja, but I do think that the education system in the Balkans need a complete revamp, like from first grade of elementary school up to higher levels of education. But I think the most important thing that we have to teach our kids and the people who are in school now is to think for themselves. Because when I look back on my education, it was mostly, I've been fed content that I had to learn and repeat and get a grade and forget. It wasn't constructive. It didn't allow me to see things in context in a bigger picture. And I think that's really important for living in a globalized society where we have so many information that we know how to access these information, to know what are reliable sources, what sources we can trust. And that's something that we do not learn at school in the Balkans. And I think that if we start there, it could be it could change, but that's also a long-term process. I don't think that it can be changed in just through plain reform. It will take years.
Thank you, Ismar, especially because you mentioned this point, because dealing with complexity, I think, is a challenge for all of us, in not only especially in this corona pandemic situation, but also when it comes to future challenges. Milena, please, you have the floor.
I'm just going to agree with the three other alumni, and definitely I would say what we never got an opportunity is to exchange the opinions and to exchange the seeing point of the different things. And from the primary school, you are teach how to respect the professor and everything, but you never can discuss about some things. And this is how you should take it, just like that. And probably from the children, if they are asking why is this like this, you have to explain, and you have to explain again and again from the different perspective until they get it and until they understand why it's that like that. It's not like the sun is yellow because I say it like that, but you have to explain why you see it like in that color and everything, so that in some point you get to the logical way of thinking. And the other thing, what I saw it from the university and from the high school, most of the time from our education system, is lack of practical experience. People who studied, they went to PhD and they finished at university and high school, and that's why I never stayed at university. I had the opportunity to work 1 year, and then I decided I'm not gonna be one of my professors. I go to see how it's working in the practice. And in the practice is like that. You have to find a solution, and maybe one day it will become a theory, but you have to really think critical and to find a solution. It's nothing written by the books. It's always a mixture. So you have to make the mixture, and then nothing is by the theory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Milena. There are no other, let me check if there are other. There's one more question in the question and answers. So how do you see the youth migration experience in the cultural context? In other words, no matter what happens with education, rule of law, and economic opportunity, will Vienna always to be close? How do we take this into account when designing solutions? So this is a question from our participants. So who would like to answer on this question? Maybe Maja?
I see Ismar raised his hand, so I would like to, I suggest he takes the floor.
Yeah, can do. Yeah, just shortly, I think that, yes, we should think about culture when we're thinking about solutions for the Western Balkans. What we have to keep in mind is that our culture is not that far or that different from European cultures. But then again, it is something else. It is different. And I don't think we this identity talk that it's stupid, it isn't. And we also, as much as we want to be more prosperous and to be part of this society, I don't think that this should come at a cost of letting go of our culture, whatever that culture is. I don't have a strict definition of that, but yes, I don't think that we should sacrifice our cultures in order to integrate in a different society. Of course, nationalism and hatred and all the bad things are also part of that culture, unfortunately. But the only thing we can do is to reflect it, to see, okay, these are the parts that I want to leave behind, that I want to change, but these are the parts that they're good and that I'd like to keep just because they don't harm anyone and can be helpful in developing good solutions.
Thank you, Ismar. Time is unfortunately over. We would like to thank to all of you. So Milena, Maja, Ismar, and Uroš, thank you for that you shared your experience. Thank you for your contributions. Thanks also for the participants for their interesting questions.
Well, we are very glad that that our short round of discussion and your inside stories could also give a different, or could give room for different aspects of migration, and specifically education as one aspect, but not only, also the importance of families and friends, but also the neglecting of human rights, which should not be forgotten in the entire discussion when it comes to migration. So once again, thank you very much for joining us, for taking your time, for sharing your thoughts and ideas. Thank you very much to the audience. And last but not the very least, we would like to invite you to have a look at the 2 upcoming videos by 2 more participants. And once again, have a look in the cinema section. There are many interesting videos and short movies which really give a good insight in the entire aspect of migration from different perspectives. So have a lovely afternoon and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hello there. So my name is Vladimir Božović, and I'm an electrical engineer from Belgrade, Serbia. I was born and raised in Belgrade. I'm 26 years old now. And 4 years ago, I emigrated from Belgrade to Milan, Italy, in order to pursue my master's degree in management engineering. I never saw myself 100% as an engineer, someone who is completely introverted, who would spend his days working at a PC, writing code, or in a factory. I saw myself as someone who is a little bit more extrovert, a little bit more socially oriented. So I wanted to change my professional background from electrical engineer more towards something socially applicable like management. And I always wanted to create my own startup since I was a kid. So that's something that that I would achieve much easier had I had a degree in business. So I decided to do a master's in business in Milan from Politecnico di Milano. It was mostly a positive experience. I didn't really like some parts about the faculty, about the Italian mindset in education, the way they do the exams, the way you need to memorize things and not really apply critical thinking. But apart from that, I was able to get in touch with really good knowledge, with really good information, professors, and a strong network. And somewhere near the end of my studies, after 1.5 years, I also found a job as an IT consultant in one multinational corporation called Everis. And basically, it was a solid experience. I'm still working there. I'm there for 2 years now. I graduated in the meantime, 6 months after I started working. And I was able to work on many different projects in the IT industry, mostly as a product owner, as an agile consultant, and so on. 1 year ago, we decided, me and my fiance Federica, we decided to build a startup, which is called Zen CV. Basically, Federica was applying for jobs. She couldn't get a job. She sent more than 50 CVs, got 0 replies. So I decided to help her with her CV. We created a brand new CV, which was beautifully designed with also enhanced contents. And she sent her CV for more than 30 times, and she received 10 job interview invitations. She did 2 interviews, and she got 2 job offers. So we understood that we had a viable business idea around our little story, because many other people around the world were suffering from the same. So we decided to build the business around it. And that's why am I saying this? It's because of this business, I'm thinking of coming back to Serbia, because in the meantime, we've created a team of almost 12 people, most of which are from Serbia. And we understood, after carefully assessing the different options and economic viability, that it would be more beneficial for us from an economic perspective to start the business and run the business from Serbia, because the salaries are a bit lower, so it's more cost effective, and we can find people that are at least of equal quality, if not more talented and educated than in Italy. So right now currently I'm in Belgrade as we speak, but my residence is still in Milan. I'm currently a little bit indecisive, but I'm thinking of coming back to Serbia. I don't know if that's going to happen soon, if that's going to happen in a year or 2, but I'm definitely thinking about it. And the reasons to do that are there are really high quality, talented people in Serbia that are really hungry, eager to work, eager to create, that speak very good English, are able to do business internationally without any problems. And given the economically alleviated situation, I also think that's somehow a good business decision. So that's my thinking. That's my thinking right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Maja. I'm from Montenegro, and in the eyes of my community, I have failed 3 times. First time, I failed because I did not stay to live in Germany after I had finished my internship in Bonn. I failed to stay in Great Britain after I had finished my master's studies in London. And I still haven't moved to live in France, although I have married a French citizen. So that's my 3rd failure. What happened that made me not succeed the way my community would expect me to? Thanks to the amazing program supported by the German Eastern Business Association, I was honored to be among hundreds of brilliant young women and men from the Balkans who got the chance to go to Germany and gain first-hand experience working in a German company. I came as a reporter from the top-rated and most trusted TV station in Montenegro to work at the Deutsche Welle news desk. After working for a few years as a journalist, or investigative journalist, if you will, I wanted to learn how to do better stories that would have greater impact and lead to change. And what I understood from my German experience is that good stories of young journalists require time, good and professional guidance, and fact-checking. They also require good working conditions, basic ones, that you have your own computer, chair, space, and advanced ones, mutual trust with your supervisors, decent salary, and constant opportunities to learn. In Deutsche Welle, I have worked at the Balkan news desk, and all the stories I did were about my country. There, I learned that they are missing good correspondents from Montenegro. And so I realized that I wanted to continue reporting about issues in my country, from my country, that I can be a correspondent Deutsche Welle was missing in Montenegro, and continue working at my old job, which I really felt passionate about. Most importantly, in the Balkans, there is always this pressure against journalists for doing their job. They are seen as being too nosy, biased for exposing the corrupt officials, and they are even called traitors, as opposed to those who practice uncritical reporting from press conferences. I knew that as a journalist, you may be accused of various things by those whose wrongdoings you are trying to expose. But working in a German company, a German media outlet, gave me self-confidence, as there I have learned clear criteria of professional approach that I did not doubt. I have also learned that I should have much higher expectations from my employer and ask for better working conditions. After those expectations were not met, or at least not entirely, I decided to leave and change my career. Having experience of working in a German company in the EU made it easier to find another job, as it made me a much stronger candidate. Working in the field of political communication led me to understanding that I should improve my education in this area. Thanks to the scholarship of the British government, I have obtained my master's degree at the London School of Economics. During my master's studies, I focused my research on the political communication in the Balkans, realizing how greatly under-researched the field of the media communication and specifically political communication in the Balkans is. Again, I returned to Montenegro wishing to do more in the academic field in my country and about my region. Unfortunately, my LSE Masters was not needed at my faculty and at the State University, where I was earlier awarded as the best student at my undergraduate studies. However, having both Western work experience and Western education made me a successful candidate for an even better job, where I'm still working. I got a job where I can constantly learn, where I'm not asked about my political or any other affiliation, where my opinion is valued and my work is paid. I know many of my friends, colleagues, and young people in general who were not that lucky. I don't see myself as a martyr who gave up a good life and who came to fight for improvements in my society, nor as anyone who has failed, although I see a huge importance of countering this particular narrative by which going back to the Balkans and not living in the West at any cost is a failure. I did not fail, and occasionally I try explaining that to people around me, especially young ones. I simply returned to Montenegro, where I was born and raised, because I like living here for a number of reasons, including those that I have my friends and family close, and that I don't have to commute to get to my office. And I was lucky to find a good job here, where my German working experience and my British education are put to use and valued. And I was also lucky to find my French husband here. So we can often laugh together at faces people make when he, as a non-native speaker, tells them in the local language that he actually came from France to work here in Montenegro. Thank you for your attention.